So hey guys, I'm back in my seat right now, and I finished lunch. Yeah, I'm gonna be filming again. This is gonna be part 2 of our sideways stories from Wayside School, but this is not the one. It says Wayside School's falling down, so yeah, let's read that. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Alright, let's read it. So, if you guys hadn't read the first chapter, A Package for Mrs. Jules, you guys go ahead and read that because, you know. So, yeah. 2. Mark Miller. This is who Mark looks like. He looks like a new student. Yeah, maybe. Let's read him, though. So, yeah. Mark Miller. Mrs. Jules rang her cowbell. I would like you to meet Mark Miller, she said. He and his family just moved here all the way from Macedonia. Everybody stared at the new kid. He stood at the front of the room. His knees were shaking. He hated having to stand in front of the whole class. It was as if Mrs. Jules had brought him in for show and tell. He felt like some kind of weirdo. Wait, let me take out this bookmark because I can't read the words like that. He just wanted to sit at a desk and be like everybody else. But worst of all, his name wasn't Mark Miller. He was Benjamin Nushmut, and he had moved from Hempleton, not Macedonia, but he was too scared to mention that to Mrs. Jules. He was afraid to correct a teacher. Why don't you tell the class a little bit about yourself, Mark? Suggested Mrs. Jules. Benjamin didn't know what to say. He wished he really was Mark Miller. Mark Miller wouldn't be scared, he thought. He'd probably have lots to say. Everyone would like him. Nobody would think Mark Miller was weird. Well, I guess we better find a place to sit, said Mrs. We better find you a place to sit, said Mrs. Jules. She put him at the empty desk between Todd and Bibi. Hi, Mark, said Todd. I'm Todd. You'll like Mrs. Jules. She's the nicest teacher in the school. Todd, no talking, said Mrs. Jules. Go write your name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Hi, Mark, said Bibi. I'm Bibi Gunn. Hi, Benjamin. Hi, Benjamin said quietly. He decided he had to tell Mrs. Jules his real name at recess. He cringed. He didn't know why, but for some reason he had trouble saying his own name. And what's your name, little boy? An adult would ask him. Benjamin Nushmut, he'd answer. What? Benjamin Nushmut. What? Benjamin Nushmut. What? Benjamin Nushmut. What? Benjamin Nushmut. Oh, nice to meet you, Benjamin. He never knew what it was that made the person suddenly understand. When the bell rang for recess, everyone charged out of the room. Benjamin slowly walked to Mrs. Jules' desk. Somehow he had to tell her. Mrs. Jules was sorting papers. Oh, hello, Mark, she said. How are you enjoying the class so far? Fine, said Benjamin. Good. I'm glad to hear that, said Mrs. Jules. Benjamin shrugged. Then he walked out of the room. If I had told her my name, she would have thought I was weird for not telling her sooner, he realized. He stood at the top of the stairs and looked down. Recess was only 10 minutes long. It didn't seem worth it all to go all the way down and then come all the way up. He didn't have any friends down there anyway. He had never been more unhappy in his whole life. He sat on top of the step. He sat on the top step. Mark Miller, he said out loud. It was an easy name to say. Mark Miller probably would have made lots of friends by now, he thought. Suddenly, he heard a low rumble. Then the stairs began to shake. It felt like an earthquake. This whole stupid school is going to fall over, he thought. He put his head between his knees. Stupid? That's not nice. Yeah. The rumbling got worse. I'm going to die and nobody will even know who I am, he worried. The new kid, Mark Miller, the weirdo. But it was an earthquake. It was just all the kids running back up the stairs. Hey, Mark, why aren't you sitting that way? Asked Edie. You look funny, said Ron. Benjamin looked up. How come you were at recess? Asked Jason. He looked everywhere. We looked everywhere for you. Couldn't you find the playground? Asked Calvin. It's just straight down, said Bibi. You can't miss it. But don't go in the basement. But don't go in the basement, warned Cherry. Whatever you do, don't go in the basement. We'll go down together at lunch, said Todd. That way you won't get lost. Benjamin smiled. He was glad everyone seemed to like him, or at least they liked Mark Miller. He wondered if they liked Benjamin Nushma too. The bell has rung, said Mrs. Jules, standing in the doorway. Now everyone get inside. She made Todd put a check next to his name on the board for being late. Oh, Todd. Mrs. Jules handed a stack of worksheets to Damien and asked him to pass them out to the rest of the class. Benjamin looked at his worksheet. At the top right corner, there was a place to put his name. He didn't know which name to put there, Mark Miller or Benjamin Noshmut. He left it blank and started working on the first problem. Louis, the art teacher, entered the room, carrying a white paper sack. Benjamin forgot his lunch, he said. His mother must just brought it. Who? asked Mrs. Jules. Benjamin, said Louis. There's no Benjamin in my class, said Mrs. Jules. Are you sure? asked Louis. It looks like a good lunch. I know the names of my children in my class, Mrs. Jules said indignantly. Well, I'll just leave it here until I figure this out, said Louis. He left the lunch on Mrs. Jules' desk and walked out of the room. Benjamin frowned. He looked at the white paper sack on Mrs. Jules' desk. He couldn't tell Mrs. Jules' real name now. She'd think he was making it up just to get a free lunch. He wrote Mark Miller at the top of his worksheet. But one of these days, he knew he'd have to tell her his real name. My question about the story is that why do they call him Mark Miller? Yeah. I don't know why. All right. Next is Bibi's baby brother. Let me see how much this is. This is actually really short. We can read it. So, 3. Bibi's baby brother. Look at this. That's how you spell Bibi's baby brother. So, yeah. Mrs. Jules asked Damien to pass back the homework. Bibi gunned away nervously, except for her grades had not been very good lately. If she didn't start bringing home better grades, her parents said they wouldn't let her stay up past midnight. She did her best artwork after midnight. Damien handed Calvin his homework, then Todd, then Joy. Where's yours? asked Calvin. I don't know, said Bibi. Did you do it? asked Calvin. Yes, I did, said Bibi. I worked extra hard on it. I hope Mrs. Jules didn't lose it. Damien finished passing out the homework. Bibi never got hers. Bibi, will you come here, please, said Mrs. Jules. She pushed out of her seat, stood up, and nervously walked to Mrs. Jules' desk. I did my homework, Mrs. Jules, she said. Really? Yes, I know, said Mrs. Jules. She held Bibi's homework in her hands. Whew, Bibi sighed with relief. I was afraid you lost it. No, I didn't lose it, Mrs. Jules said sternly. She showed the back of the paper to Bibi. Someone had written. Mrs. Jules is as fat as a hippopotamus. She smells like one, too. I didn't write that, exclaimed Bibi. I love the way you smell. Mrs. Jules smiled, but if you didn't write it, who did? Ray, Bibi instantly replied. Who's Ray? He's my little brother. Ray Gunn. He must have snuck into my room after I was asleep. He's always playing mean tricks on me. He knew how hard I worked on my homework. Well, we'll show Ray, said Mrs. Jules. She gave Bibi an A+. There, I don't think he'll try that again. Thanks, said Bibi. You may have a Tootsie Roll Pop, too, said Mrs. Jules. Bibi took a Tootsie Roll Pop out of the coffee can on Mrs. Jules' desk, then returned to her seat. She proudly showed Calvin her A+. The next day, Mrs. Jules asked Damien to hand back another batch of homework. How come Damien always gets to do everything? Gripped Cassie. I'm sorry, Cassie, said Mrs. Jules. Would you like to pass back the homework? No, grumped Cassie. I'm not your slave. Oh, I remember those times when slaves were alive. Damien passed out the homework again. Bibi didn't get hers. Mrs. Jules called her to her desk. On the back of her homework, someone had written, Mrs. Jules had a head full of oatmeal and it leaked out her ears. I didn't write it, said Bibi. Ray, asked Mrs. Jules. Bibi nodded. Why don't you start checking the back of her homework, suggested Mrs. Jules. I did when I woke up, said Bibi. He must have done it after breakfast while I was brushing my teeth. We had oatmeal for breakfast. She shook her head. I won't brush my teeth anymore. You have to brush your teeth, said Mrs. Jules. My parents think he's such a little angel, Bibi complained. He's always wrecking things, and then I'm always the one who gets into trouble. Why can't you be more like Ray? They say, yesterday he threw all my underwear out the window. Then my mother yelled at me for it. She wouldn't believe that her little darling son would do something like that. Mrs. Jules gave Bibi another A+ and another Tootsie Roll Pop. For Friday, everyone had to write a report and read it to the class. Bibi wrote her report about George Washington. She sat at the front of the room and read it out loud. George Washington never told a lie, not like Mrs. Jules. She lies all the time. That's why her nose is so big, and she snores when she sleeps. So Mr. Jules has to wear earplugs. Everyone was laughing. Bibi stopped reading. What's so funny? She asked. Come here, said Mrs. Jules. Bibi shrugged, then walked to Mrs. Jules' desk. Mrs. Jules showed her what she had just read. Did I just read that out loud? Bibi asked. Mrs. Jules nodded. I was just reading it, Bibi explained. I wasn't listening. It was Ray again, wasn't it? Asked Mrs. Jules. Had to be, said Bibi. Yesterday he put toothpaste in my socks. Then my mother got mad at me for making a mess and washing toothpaste and wasting toothpaste. Bibi got an A+ on her report and another Tootsie Roll Pop. After school, Mrs. Jules called Bibi's mother on the phone. Hello, Mrs. Gunn. This is Mrs. Jules from Wayside School. What's Bibi done now? Asked Mrs. Gunn. Bibi hasn't done anything wrong, said Mrs. Jules. She's a wonderful girl. Well, what a surprise, said Mrs. Gunn. She's always causing trouble at home. I wanted to talk to you about that, said Mrs. Jules. I think you're being unfair to Bibi. I think she often gets into trouble when really Ray is to blame. Ray? Asked Mrs. Gunn. Yes, I know you think he's a perfect angel, said Mrs. Jules, but some children can be angels on the outside and devils underneath. Yes, that sounds like Bibi, said Mrs. Gunn. I'm not talking about Bibi, I'm talking about Ray. Ray? Asked Bibi's mother. Who's Ray? Chapter 4. Homework. So Bibi doesn't have a little brother. Her mother doesn't know who Ray is. Bibi didn't have a little brother. Oh my god. Oh, I know. Bibi was making it up. Oh my god, Bibi. So, I think Bibi was making it up. But this is chapter 4, and I don't think we really have time to read it, even if it's really short. Yeah. So, we don't have time. So sorry, guys. But so we can read this another time. And yeah. So we're just going to read that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell if you're on a computer, or hit the notification bell. Hit that notification bell. And yeah. And give me a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!